What's up, Turf Pros? I had some pushback regarding the very, very expensive Scag cheetah mower I bought recently, and people said there's no reason to spend that amount of money on a commercial mower whenever you can get a mower that would basically do the same thing, might not be quite as comfortable, quite as efficient for about half the price. I want to speak specifically why it makes sense 100% of the time to spend the money on the best equipment that you can get a hold of. There are a few reasons for that, and I understand when we're first starting out, we have to just make do with what we have. Okay, I get that, but I'm going to make a case for you why, in the long run, having the absolute best piece of equipment that you can possibly afford is 100% the way to go 100% of the time. The very first reason is in this game, in lawn care, whether it's residential or commercial, the name of the game is speed and productivity. That's it. If the limiting factor with how much you can produce is your equipment, you are you're literally shooting yourself in the foot. Like, why in the world, if you could have a piece of equipment that will allow you to double, think about it this way. Let's use a very basic example from a push mower to a riding tractor style mower. The upgrade from the tractor, it might cost you more money for that tractor, but you are now able to do 3 times the amount of lawns that you could do with the push mower. Now, if you're going to upgrade from the tractor to a residential grade 0 turn, you're going to 3x what you can do. This keeps going, okay? If you get a residential grade 0 turn and then you upgrade to a full-size commercial mower, you are going to be able to 3x what you could do with that little dinky residential grade mower. And if you are not taking advantage of producing as much work and as much volume as you can, you're missing the bag completely. Okay, that is the first reason, is that if your mower is the limiting factor in how much work you can produce, you've got to get that fixed, because the only way to really make money doing this is producing a lot of work, doing a lot of volume. The bigger, better, faster mower allows you to put out more volume, produce more work, therefore make more money. It's really as simple as that. Number 2, okay, the biggest cost in our industry, and it does not matter if you are solo, whether or not you have employees, it still factors in. The biggest cost is labor, okay? So why do I say it doesn't even matter if you're a solo guy? Again, going back to that original point, that if you are the limiting factor, you are the labor. If you are the limiting factor based on your mower, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Let's say you have employees, okay? My employees, like, okay, I'm averaging, $55 an hour, $60 an hour with payroll taxes and everything whenever I'm paying my employees. So the employees for me, a 2-man crew, sending them out, it's very expensive, okay? I want them on mowing equipment that reduces that labor cost as much as possible. Investing in the equipment 10 times out of 10 is more efficient and a greater ROI, greater return on investment than you letting labor handle it. Meaning, if I were to go and send my guys out with push mowers, we're hamstringing ourselves with the amount of work that we can do. And now, secondly, my labor costs are through the roof because they don't have equipment that is efficient. And I've heard an argument made before by somebody in the past that I really respect. They have a business that is much bigger than mine, so it's kind of hard for me to sit here and say, well, I don't agree with that, and then kind of just be like, well, look at their business, look at yours. But there's still some merit to what I'm about to say. I heard them say it's better to put your crew on push mowers because it's easier to train them on push mowers. The cost is pretty much negligible, and it's better to be able to do a lot of volume and train people very, very quickly and go out and mow lawns with push mowers than it is to give them riding lawn mowers and zero turn mowers, because the that money that you're spending on the zero-turn mower is better spent on marketing. My argument against that is, why in the world is your biggest expense in business your labor? In a service industry, your biggest expense is labor. Why in the world would we not invest in machinery that is going to allow our labor to be as efficient as possible? And I heard this person say in the same breath, in a few videos later, they're like, our biggest expense is our labor, in our industry. And it's like, you know what? Like, I'm sorry, you can't have it both ways. You can't sit there and tell people that they need to use push mowers and inefficient equipment because it's cheaper to do it that way, and then in the next breath tell them, our biggest expense in our industry is labor. Like, you can't have it both ways. I want my employees to be on the most comfortable, most productive, most efficient equipment that I can possibly afford. And if that means stretching myself a little bit to get that equipment, that is exactly what I'm going to do. Okay, so we talked about you're shooting yourself in the foot if you're not being as productive and doing as much volume as possible. Secondly, the labor is our biggest expense in this industry. We have got to invest in machines over labor whenever we have the opportunity. Number 3 is longevity. If I put somebody on a push mower or a tractor or some piece of junk equipment that is going to be beating them to death, that I'm not going to get the best work out of them. It's as simple as that. 6 hours into the day, if you're riding around on some mower that has no suspension and you're doing this all day, your employee's doing this all day, come 6 hours, not to mention you're going to have to go up and do it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, day after day. There is this fall off that happens every single week. You start Monday out great, Tuesday, Wednesday you hit that climb. By Thursday, man, you're beat up, you're tired. And my goodness, I am not having my employees out push mowing lawns in this heat, dude, or riding on equipment that is not efficient or comfortable for them, because what happens? Yes, it's a morale thing, but primarily it's an efficiency thing. If at the end of the week, if they are just completely slap worn out because the equipment they have been using is junk, well, that goes right back to point number 2, right? Our labor is our biggest expense, and if their productivity slows down because the equipment is beating them up, it is not a wise thing to do to try to save, pennies on the zero. And you say pennies, it is pennies relative to your labor cost. It might be $4,000 or $5,000 more to get that substantially better mower, but in the grand scheme of things, over the course of the year, that is pennies compared to the headaches, the problems, the wear and tear on your employees, the loss in productivity, all those things. That $4,000 to $5,000 upgrade, it is pennies compared to what you're going to spend if you don't have that better mower over time, because your labor is going to skyrocket by not having the best piece of equipment you can possibly have. Where does this come from? People were freaking out. I cannot believe my mower's $18,000 now. You're right, man. Mowers they're ridiculously expensive. Some have a very good argument that they're even overpriced for what they are. But my argument against that is, what is the alternative? What is the alternative? The alternative is to be less productive, do less volume. The alternative is to have higher labor rates, labor costs. The alternative is to beat up your employees, which in turn creates higher labor rates down the line and loss in efficiency. So you got to spend the money on the best piece of equipment that you possibly can get a hold of, because it pays dividends down the line. I'm not talking about being silly or loose or stupid with debt. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about whenever you make a sound decision, you're trying to decide between that mower that's $12,000 or that mower that's going to just take your productivity to the next level for the $18,000. It's a no-brainer. 10 out of 10 times, get the best equipment you can possibly afford. It pays dividends. It pays dividends the entire year. I've seen it over and over in my business. I would not advise you on this if I did not truly believe this. If you're starting out, get the best mower you can. If the best mower you can get is a push mower, get that. If the best mower that you can get is a 30-inch push mower instead of the 21, get the 30. If the best mower you can get is a used ride-on John Deere, go get that. But my point is you get a hold of the best piece of equipment that you can possibly get a hold of. It will pay dividends the entire year, and many times, many years down the line. All right, Turf Pros, y'all be good. I will see you in the next one. Go get that mower you need.